Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast chat. And today we're going to talk a little bit about strength athletes trimming down and it being more of a trend. All right, I just saw in the news in the last couple of days that Hafthor, many of you call Thor the mountain, he just dropped 110 pounds. He's down to 330. The guy's really, really lean. And this is a growing trend we're seeing. And in his case, it makes sense if he wants to do that. Makes him more marketable to make more money and stuff. Do his boxing and be a little more athletic for it, like carrying less body weight. And he's already broken these strongman records, right? He already has the strongest deadlift out there. And I don't think anyone's going to beat that for just a little while. A bunch of people are trying. They're probably not going to beat it. They might, but I doubt it. And if they do, it'll be a little while. And the beauty of it is that he's healthier and lighter. And if he ever wants to go back and beat it again, he can always bulk back up. He can put 100 pounds back on, knock it down. And in the meantime, he's going to be a lot healthier for it. And this is something we're seeing as an increasing trend. A lot of strength athletes, and I know a lot of guys who are trimming down and realizing, hey, I can't walk around at these sort of body fats and body weights. And what we have to remember is that I'm not telling skinny noobs not to bulk up, because you guys need to, right? If you're still building a base, unless you're really short, if you're under 200 pounds, you probably do need to do quite a bit of bulking. And there's a lot of noobs out there who could stand to put on 15 pounds of body fat long term in a serious bulk. They will be bigger and stronger for it. Eventually, they will want to trim down for health reasons. But the thing to think about here is we know excess body weight isn't good for you. It's better if it's muscle versus fat. It's a lot better. But at the end of the day, if you're going to carry a lot of muscle, it's not good to carry a lot of body fat because you're putting excess strain on your heart and your body with all the extra weight. So you might as well trim the extra fluff off. And it's the same thing I'm doing right now. I had to go through this thought process. A lot of people are like, why'd you take the road to 700 out of the squat videos? Well, I think it should be obvious. Because if I'm trimming down, it means I'm not going to be competing in 220. I'm not competing in the 220. I'm not trying to break a world record in the 220. I don't need a 700. And that's something I had to think through. And people say, well, 220 is not necessarily that heavy. Yeah, but to be competitive in the 220, you have to be 235, right? 240. Hopefully people understand that you don't compete at the weight you walk around at for any weight class sport. Losing 15, 20, even 25 pounds in the last 2 weeks before weigh-in is really common. I did 18 pounds my last meet. You guys remember I stepped on the scale at 217 at weigh-in? 10 days out, I was 235. I did an 18-pound cut for that. So you're going to be a lot heavier than that weight class. And it's something that I had to think through and say, you know what? Is it worth it for me going into my late 40s trying to beat Masters 2 records to walk around at 235, 240 pounds for years? I turned 45 this year. Not ideal. You're seeing a lot of strength athletes who realize this, and they're dropping out of these heavier weight classes. And what people have to remember from a weight class perspective, really short guys can be a lot fatter in a weight class, right? Like if a guy is 5'5", he can walk around at 23% body fat and possibly be in the 181, the 198, and do really, really, really well. Because he has to move the bar a shorter distance, he's shorter than average, he has an advantage from leverages. So for anyone who's not short, so let's take me for example. I'm 5'9", that's my real height, that's 6 foot in internet stats, because everyone adds 3 inches. So for me, usually the 220 is a good class to be in. So if I want to drop down under the 220, I may have to compete against guys who are slightly shorter than me. It's not going to be uncommon. I need to be leaner than them, because usually what you need in a weight class, assuming the skill is there, I know that there's other factors to max strength besides body composition, but it accounts for about 90% of it, okay, for most people. But realistically, you either need to be shorter than your competition or you need to be leaner than your competition in a weight class. It's usually how it goes. So I'm going to have to trim down and get very lean. We saw Thor do the same thing. He's quite lean now. And I'm not saying to do it, because you want that look or whatever. I don't believe in that. I'm not a fan of that. But when we're talking about, is it healthier to be at a lower body fat if you're carrying a lot of muscle? Yeah, it is. Are you going to be more competitive as an athlete? Yes, you will. So it makes sense from a competitiveness and a health standpoint to do that. And again, I say that it's the way I want to put it. I don't ever want to make it about someone achieving a look, because that encourages the stuff I've been explaining recently with undereaters and skinny kids who want to get jacked, but they want to stay real lean. Well, that's not going to happen. I'm talking about building up a base for years and years and then trimming down. Okay, because these kids who have been convinced they're going to make a bunch of lean gains, well, that's nonsense. That's not reality. It's not going to happen. And in my last video I did on that bashing Duchette, a lot of people chimed in and said, yep, I tried to do what he had explained for like a year. I sat there and I spun my wheels and didn't make any progress. And I went ahead and bulked up 15, 20 pounds, right? And if you're starting out early on, you're going to need to do that. I'm not saying you need to be leaner for health and athletic purposes if you're at a much lighter body weight. I'm talking about once you've built a base up and you've put some real size and thickness and strength on, then it becomes better. And in which case, then how do we maintain that? People are like, well, you can't just lean gain from that point. Well, no. But if you get leaner, you do more conservative bulks and cuts, right? Let's say that your target weight to stay around is, 200 pounds. Okay. You could do cuts down to 195 and then bulk to 205 and stay within 5 pounds of that ideal weight, if that's the weight you think you need to be at. Again, assuming you're an advanced lifter already, you can do that. You can bulk and cut inside 10 pounds back and forth. And that's a lot more conservative. And that way you're not ever getting to a high body fat. You're not getting to a high weight. But that person may need to get quite a bit above that at some point to build the base that they want. They might have to go up to 215 earlier on and then trim down to the 200, 195 or whatever. And then bulk and cut from there once they're an advanced lifter and once they've built a big base. But again, the point is we're seeing a growing trend in that. We're seeing a lot more strength athletes who understand the value of cardio. And I think my friend Alex Viada has helped with that, because he pushed a lot of that out there. And a lot of coaches and lifters have listened to Alex. A lot of circles of coaches I have, they listen to him. And he's telling people, look, you can run marathons and still have a 700-pound deadlift. It can be done. He does it. So again, convincing people that, look, it's not going to destroy your gains. It's going to improve your health. Right, it's actually going to improve your recovery. If you do conditioning, you get into shape and stuff, your recovery is going to be better from training. You're going to be more well-rounded. It's a good idea. You'll be healthier too. And we kind of come back to that point. What are we seeing? We're seeing a lot more strength athletes doing more conditioning and endurance work. And again, that's not body fat. That's silly bodybuilder terms when they talk about conditioning being really lean. That's not used in the sports world. So we mean actually doing cardio, getting conditioned that way, and trimming down to lighter weights that are healthier for the long term. And we're seeing a big trend in that. And I think it's going to be a positive trend we're going to continue to see in strength sports more and more. And I think in this case, Thor doing that's probably setting a good example there. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.